Okay, so the next speaker on the program is someone who's very dear to my heart. She's my niece, Joanna Tomlin, and she's just going to give us an insight into her her whole life, really, and her role as an engineer. She's a young woman of color who's confident, and I'm just so proud. I'm glad that she's here tonight. So Audrey, if you wouldn't mind highlighting Joanna, Joanna would do a presentation as well. There she is.
Yeah.
Hi, Joanna.
Hello, family.
Hi there. How are you doing?
To raise my hand virtually or in real life.
Over to you, darling.
Great. Thank you so much for inviting me today. And thank you, Abby, for that presentation. That was just incredible, absolutely incredible. I'm so grateful and honored actually to be asked to be part of this event. So happy Woman Day, everybody. It's an amazing day to celebrate all that we are. And I've just got so much phenomenal women around me all the time. I'm almost humbled that I am doing this presentation for you today. But as you can see, what I'm about to talk about is very unique, very different to perhaps what you would expect to be hearing about. But yeah, I've titled this Woman Day because recently I was speaking to a friend who thought that woman was the word combined of womb and man. And in fact, it's actually wife and man. And I thought that's quite significant because today is really about defining us as our own and not an add-on to men or to a man, but just as our own as women. So who am I? I'm Joanna Tomlin, and I am a Black female aerospace engineer. So I really am breaking the mold in science, technology, engineering, and maths. Not only am I a woman, but yeah, I'm in engineering and I am Black. So this is a bit about my journey today. I just want to share a bit about my journey, things that I've learned along the way, and to break down some stereotypes about the industry that I'm in, really. And so I really open the floor. If you've got any questions, please put them in the chat. And yeah, feel free to connect with me if you're interested in anything that I speak on today. But first of all, I wanted to ask a question, and that is, what is engineering? What do we believe is engineering? And if you could put some ideas in the chat, Auntie Ro, if you could help, if you see any answers in the chat.
Yeah.
Buildings, I've seen. Okay, let me not spend too much time. So, let's see if it's gonna move. What is engineering? Okay, engineering is everything. And I mean everything. Everything around us has an engineer somewhere along its journey, its product life cycle. That is in our transport, in our medicine, in the food that we eat, in our devices, and even in our energy. Everything has something to do with engineering. An engineer has been part of that journey, and we see it all around us every day and interact with it. And yet so many people have a misconception of what engineering is. People, when I ask them, and when I tell them I'm an engineer, believe that I go to work in a hard hat, have steel cap toes, and I'm probably underneath an engine dirty or something like that. I work in aerospace, so I assure you it's none of the above. Otherwise, I'm sure more things would be falling from the sky. And actually, no, I sit at a desk every day. I could wear heels if I wanted to work. I choose not to, because why would I? I actually started my journey just being interested in maths and science and embarked on engineering just because a teacher of mine told me it would be something that I might be good at. So just want to break down the stereotype there, because I know, especially in our community, we have a real misunderstanding for this side of the industry, which I think could be pivotal in our transformation of so many of our communities. My journey, as I said, how I started and why I even wanted to do engineering is just because of my inquisitive nature. And that was me asking questions like, why am I studying Pythagoras and trigonometry? And I'm sure many of us have maybe asked that question before, like, how does this really connect in the real life, in real life, and how is that important? Now bear with me, because I am going to get a little bit technical, but I just want to give that understanding in some simple terms. Now let's think about the length of a triangle with 3 sides. Lengths of all 3 sides. Now, if those 3 sides represented forces, then you would be able to, for example, in this bridge, you'd be able to decide how much force is in each direction. So how much force is subtended from each angle. And that's really important when it comes to designing and building massive structures, because you don't want to have to buy beams that are really strong and therefore very expensive. You want to be able to only buy certain beams that need to be strong and the rest to be maybe a bit weaker, a bit cheaper. So it's an economical thing to know which beams to invest the money in. And that right there is all trigonometry and Pythagoras. Don't worry if you didn't get it. You didn't really have to, but I'm just showing how these complex or simple concepts that were taught in mathematics were never really transferred to us in school to understand how they actually translate to the real world. And I think that's such a thing that is so important when it comes to how we even interact with the environment around us. And it's almost like it's been ripped away from us. So that's where I started. And as we've seen in the last slide, engineering is in everything, right? So how did I decide that I wanted to go into aerospace? Well, the truth is I kind of just landed in it. I did take a year out and I did a year in industry. I worked for National Grid, which has so many different types of engineering under one banner. And it was a really, really great experience. And in the end, I decided to study mechanical engineering, which is the broadest of any of the engineering disciplines. And I also studied business finance because that's me. I like to keep my options open. Off the back of that, I applied to a competition just to see what would come of it. I ended up being shortlisted out of thousands of undergraduates at the time. I was absolutely, I couldn't believe it. And off the back of that, I was offered a place at Rolls-Royce. Everyone hears Rolls-Royce, and what do you think of? Cars. Rolls-Royce does not own cars, okay? It's a stereotype. Everyone believes they own cars. They did once upon a time, and I'm talking about as far back as 1970. That is now owned by BMW. It's got nothing to do with Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce are a power company. They are a technology company, and they do everything to do with wind energy now, because we're moving to cleaner energy resources. But historically, they've done aerospace, which is the energy that's required to propel planes. So they've got customers like British Airways and also multiple governments for their combat aircraft engines. And I actually work on the defense side of the company. So I want to talk about my triumphs, because when I speak about what I do, people can't believe it. Some of the first comments they make are things like, oh, you must be smarter than me. I like to do this play on words, triumph. I don't think I'm the smartest. And I don't think it's just because of my genes, because believe me, a lot of incredible, intelligent women in my family. But it's more that I was brought up with a growth mindset, that mindset that I can if I try. Now, it wasn't put to me as eloquently as that. It was more something like, if you want good, your nose off your run. Mm-hmm. However, I took that message to say, if I work hard, I can achieve anything and everything that I want to achieve in this life. And that is something that has stayed with me. So that is how, actually, in the last 2 years, I've been able to get my first patent. For this is one of my inventions that I've come up with, and I'm not going to go into details about what it's about, but this is such a proud moment for me. And I don't see this very dissimilar to the qualities that I see around me: musicians, people that write songs, people that are able to create. But it's just in a different space. And if we were as a people to understand that these same skills that we have inside of us, these same talents, can just be used for different things, I believe we can open up worlds of doors for ourselves. And that's something I wanted to share today. Something else I wanted to say is how I've done this is to really embrace feedback. Feedback, and not be shy about asking people, how have I supported in this team? How do you think I am adding value to what we are putting out? People always say things like, you think really differently, you ask challenging questions. And it's really interesting to get that feedback, because it helps me to be able to articulate in an interview setting the things that I'm bringing. Because if I just say words like resilience, I'm strong, you know, the things that we talk about all the time, sometimes it doesn't feel substantial enough. And those are the things I think for women come under a name coined by a woman that I've worked with quite closely, Dr. Jan Peters. And she coined this term, social capital. All the things that women go through in life, the things that we've had to do in terms of multitasking, you know, we've got the family, we've got the bills, we've got so much to think about. These are all very transferable skills when it comes into an industry career setting that you can find it really difficult to articulate in an interview, but are so important to show your worth and the value that you bring, which may sometimes feel as though you just cannot find the words for it. And asking for feedback helped me to put those words together so that I could articulate that. Another thing that I've done is really dive into this concept of women being emotional. I can be quite emotionally erratic, if I do say so myself. It's something I'm navigating and learning as a growing lady. And I've decided that I'm going to use it as a strength, because what that means is that I'm emotionally intelligent. And actually, I'm able to build rapport with people that are important in negotiation, very important as an engineer when it comes to solving problems. And this is now how I choose to speak about my emotional personality type as well. And I really use this as well to broaden my networks, connect with people, and have that sisterhood that really helped to cheerlead me towards success. And as you can see, I've got many networks in so many different parts of life. Tokenism is also something I use for that. You've got a Black female in the company, and the first thing they want to do, and I'm telling you, I remember sending this picture to my mother, who's also on the call today. It was like the first year I was working for the company, and I was already on the company website front page, you know, and I put it up, all my family put it up as well, so proud of me. But I used that picture to broaden my network, to get me into places I am today. And so if they're going to use me, I'm going to use you too. The next thing I want to talk about is my challenges. Now, you might be laughing and thinking, is it just the men that bring the challenges? Yeah, men definitely come with their challenges and they've got their place in the world, but I'm talking about the human challenges. I feel like most of my challenges in my development has been all around humans. That's women, men, and actually myself as well, that has hindered me. Now, this picture of this boat might seem so misplaced to you, but for me, I'm scared of it, terrified of it. It was my master's project for university. And I was working with a team of really entitled, middle-class, rich boys. It's the best way I can put it. And they didn't take on my ideas. When I knew how to solve complex problems, they would kind of challenge me. And I would ask myself, is it because I'm a woman? Is it because I'm Black? I'm sure many of us have had that kind of cultural barrier meets gender barrier. You're not even sure what it is, but you know there's some sort of blockage. And I actually reached out to this network. I reached out to this network to overcome this challenge. And I spoke to one of my good friends, a long time friend of mine. And she said, Joanna, do not internalize. And it's something that I did. When people believe things of me, I would internalize it and think maybe it's true. And actually, just because they have that perception of me doesn't mean I should walk into the room any differently. It doesn't mean I shouldn't share those ideas. And another thing that my cousin recently told me is that I should learn to clap for myself. I've actually started doing it. It's a funny thing, you're in your room by yourself, but this is what happens as women. You achieve so much, even if it is just to do the washing up and make sure that your hair is done on time to get to a meeting. You need to clap for yourself. Take a minute and clap for yourself, because sometimes that can really help to lift your spirits, and there's nobody else around to clap for you. Clap for yourself. And it really has helped me. I've watched women throughout my life say yes to too much. This is something that I've unfortunately inherited, and I've had to learn this technique of not saying no, because for me, it's too hard to say no. I've developed a technique of saying not now, not now. It makes me feel better about it, and it helps me to scope what I'm able to manage so that I have time set aside for myself as well. Another thing, and the last thing I'll end on as one of my challenges was my fear of failure. My fear of failure was, it stifled me. And Will Smith said one thing, he said that success is on the other side of fear and of failure. You've got to be in a mind space that it's okay to not get it right all the time. And once you do, you will see yourself achieving things. If you don't put yourself in that space, you'll never get to the next level, if that makes sense. So that's something I'm still working on, but it is something that I'm intentionally working on. I write up on a board in front of me. Every day I remind myself that I must challenge my fear of failure. I just want to end with, yeah, I'm a female aerospace engineer, but I'm just me. And I'm a very family-orientated person. That's me and my godson, Kyron, who I love to pieces. That's me chairing a diversity and inclusion panel where I'm just talking about things that matter to me and I'm passionate about. And I was hosting that panel as part of my social enterprise that I have called Diversity. That's me going on the opposite side of fear and learning how to roller skate backwards here. And that's me filling my cup back up, doing things that, and finding out things that really help to support my internal happiness. And this is me going sailing. So this is something that I never experienced. I never thought I would even ever experience in my life. I didn't even think of it, but somebody offered it to me as an opportunity and I grabbed it. And it's something I would so recommend. Absolutely love being out in the middle of it. It's kind of like a fear, but at the same time, just endless opportunity. It's blissful. And that's me anyway. I love nature. So if you have any questions at this time, I'm happy to take them. Connect with me on LinkedIn. You can connect with my business pages, also my personal one. And these are some of the other things that I do. Should they also interest you in reasons to connect with me. I want to thank you for your time.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you very much, Joanna. That was so wonderful. There's so many comments in the chat. I'll just reel them off real quick before we go back to Satara. But yeah, Indigo Blue says you're doing so well. Isaac says brilliant. Abby says you should be proud of your achievements. You're an amazing woman. Pamela says I'll learn to clap for myself. That's the first time I've heard that, but yeah, that's a good one. And yeah, celebrating success is such a good. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to move on, but we will take any questions in the chat. I'm just going to pass back over to Satara. for the next time. Thanks so much, Joanna. Thanks for coming. Yeah, love you. Bye. Let's give her a clap. Amazing.
You know what I find really, really fascinating. You know, we will watch, you know, the news, and we will hear what they talk about our, you know, Black youngsters, that they're failing system. You know, they're failing, they're laying dormant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, you know, there's angry Black women, and you know, all these titles that we have, you know, and look at what we just sat down and heard. I am sure that many of us, and most of the people here, has heard something, maybe have learned a little something that they did not know before. I certainly have. And this is our future. Joanna, bless you. This is our future, and you make me proud. I'm proud of our future. I am hopeful of our future, you know? And, you know, Abby, thank you so much for that great knowledge, you know what I mean? And this is what this is about. This is what this evening is about. We're right now, we're living in a time right now where it's tough. It's a tough one. It's been hard. This last couple of years, yeah, if you haven't got really strong, so the fittest are the fittest will survive, you know, and if you haven't really got a strong resilience, it's very, very easy to topple over, you know, to fall down. But know that you've always got your people, your sisters, and your brothers. You've got your sisters there with you. So always reach out. Always reach out. Because if we pay too much attention to what's going on the news, we're going to be so distracted. We're going to be so distracted, and we're not going to be able to feed our own soul. So this is what today is about. To take our time away, just take that attention away from what's going out there, and let's hone it in. Let's learn something. Let's get something, and let's feed our soul. And that's what this is. It's about today. So thank you, our two speakers that's spoken already. Very, very excited.